Yo, what is going on, everybody? So today's a very, very interesting one. I like today's topic. Australian Navy sits feminist indoctrination courses while World War III looms. So what the hell am I talking about here? Well, let me enlighten you. So there's a gentleman called Bernard Gaynor, very intelligent guy, does a lot of writing around gender politics and I guess some really, I guess, key issues that are going on a political level. And, you know, he's ex-army, and he was actually the one who exposed the army on video, the chief of the army, for waiting for, I think it was 6 weeks for a female applicant to come forward for certain roles before they would accept any male applicants. Yeah, he's that guy. So let me show you. And guys, feel free to have a check of his website anytime, actually. It's bernardgaynor.com.au. Just got it up here now. Now, this particular article, and you know, I'm going to do a lot of reading from his article today rather than making up my own commentary to some degree. The reason for that is because Bernard actually really writes this stuff well and in a similar sort of way to what I would typically deliver. So let's scroll down and have a quick look at this. About 10 days ago, it was reported that US combat simulations showed it would lose a war to China by 2030. 2030 is 10 years ago. That's not a long time. And the first of our new $50 billion subs won't even be wet by then. Yet 5 days ago, the Australian Navy responded to this alarming and eye-opening finding by asking soldiers to study gender, peace, and security at Monash University in Victoria. You guessed it, Victoristan. So I guess it's safe to say that if all hell does break loose in the Pacific, either now or in the next decade, the Australian Navy will be of no use to anyone at all. But it will be able to tell the Americans why their sinking aircraft carriers are symbols of the patriarchy. This won't be the fault of the brave and patriotic sailors who have signed up to serve this nation. It will be the fault of their admirals who are still sculling the PC Kool-Aid. Basically, and I mean, no offense to those busy studying gender theory at the moment, the Navy is beavering away, pinning tits on a bull. And that's an Australian phrase for, well, you may as well put tits on a bull because there's no point in it being there because bulls don't breastfeed. While the entire global security order is being revolutionized. Let's read more about the fiasco, shall we? Also, I just saw MGTOW live pop in. Mate, if you can please send me an email because I couldn't find the email that you sent me previously. Call for nominations. Monash University Graduate Certificate, Gender, Peace and Security. Expressions of interest are currently being sought for the following opportunity. Position, Monash University Graduate Certificate. Rank, Private Officer, Captain, I think it means. Commencement date 13th of July this year. Applications close 19th of June this year. Noting the limited application window, commanders and supervisors are encouraged to actively identify potential candidates and assist where appropriate in the application process. And blah, 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 blah. So basically, the graduate certificate in gender, peace, and security costs a cool $12,100, over 12 grand. That's crazy. Defense will shoulder this cost thanks to the taxpayer. And I'm sure Chairman Dan, aka Chairman Dan Andrews, also extends his gratitude on behalf of the Chinese dictator for his vote of confidence, in a Victorian education. There are 2 units in the course. Gender, Security and Conflict draws upon feminist theorizing in international relations. Security Studies and Global Political Economy to provide a thorough gendered critique of the theory and practice across the areas of conflict and security. So let's have a look at this particular module, shall we? Gender, Security and Conflict from Monash Uni. Drawing upon feminist theorizing in international relations, security studies, and global political economy, this course unit shall be useful for students from a variety of disciplines interested in gender policy work. So why would they be putting people through this course unless they're trying to indoctrinate people in how to write feminist policy, which is, of course, policy that benefits women and not men. Now let's have a look at the other one. The other one was gender-based policy and planning. So all straight off the bat, the name is telling you that it's around policy. Introduces students to innovative, established, and new methodologies for generating evidence and developing evidence-based policies that are gender-sensitive, gender-inclusive, and gender-responsive. And of course, there it is, gender analysis in the policy process, gender mainstreaming, feminist political economy analysis. Feminist political economy, that's another really interesting one that I want to touch on tomorrow. And Hawaii is just out of control right now when it comes to this stuff. So let me just jump onto this. The course is overseen by two highly qualified academics, Jackie True and Associate Professor Katrina Lee Koo. Naturally, because both of these people identify as feminists, they are well placed to mold the thinking of Australia's future naval officers. No doubt they're also chuffed to have been given the responsibility to shape the defence of the realm. Jackie True's writing has been focused on dealing with the effects of COVID-19, Brexit, and climate change. In April, she wrote that countries with some of the most successful responses to COVID-19 and with a lower morality rate, I like that one, lower mortality rate it should be, but I think that's pretty accurate, 1% versus global 5%, such as Germany, New Zealand, and Norway, appear to have one thing in common: women leaders. So this article is actually this one here. But of course, they don't mention any of the male leaders that are doing really well in managing this crisis. They just simply don't mention the male leaders because they're not interested in giving the men any credit for handling a crisis. We can only praise the almighty vagina, and that's why we have a feminist approach. So, of course, the next bit, and I know I'm skipping around here. Apparently, COVID-19 affects women more than men. Oh, what a surprise. She argues that our response needs to be gendered. After all, the majority of women are nurses and their workloads increase because selfish men are far more likely to die from this disease than women. Also, climate conferences are male, pale, and stale. It's time to bring in women. Yes, it's time to completely throw men out of any discussion to do with the future of the Earth and make it all female. That will be mentioned further down here. So in 2019, True complained that international climate change gabfests are too male, pale, and stale, one I just showed you from the conversation. Who knew that women are some kind of global air conditioner? Well, she knew, apparently. 4 years earlier, she wrote an article titled, "Why We Need a Feminist Foreign Policy to Stop War." Hey, I guess if women can bring global temperatures down, they can also secure world peace. See, there it is. What does it mean in practice to have feminist policy? Foreign policy informed by feminist analysis must confront masculine hegemonies in state military industrial complexes that fuel and fund conflict. Ah, yes, bunch of feminist bullshit. So what does the feminist foreign policy mean in practice? In a speech in Washington, D.C., she argued that discrimination against women enables threats to peace and security, and that greater gender equality is therefore not only a goal in itself, but also a precondition for achieving our foreign development and security policy objectives. That's basically doublespeak for give us what we want because you're not going to achieve what you want unless you give us what we want, even though the two things are not actually completely related. Here we go. Feminism is an overall approach to practicing foreign policy rather than a single issue focus on sexual violence in conflict or the economic empowerment of women in developing countries such as Hague and Clinton advance. Now, they say here feminism is an overall approach. Well, Julie Bindel says that, and I'll share this with you.
But men have to recognize that
the first step in being a feminist ally
is
relinquishing some of their power.
Because ultimately, feminism is about taking that power away from men.
Because ultimately, feminism is about taking that power away from men. Yes, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Right? And of course, the United Nations aren't even trying to hide that because last time I looked, they had a really, really, really interesting little post on their Instagram. Let me share that post with you. My feminist agenda, generation equality. Look, UN women, every leader needs to adopt a feminist agenda, just like every one of us. Share yours with us in the comments below or in your stories using hashtag generation equality. So this is what the United Nations wants for you guys. True's best work deals with Brexit. In 2016, she co-authored a working paper, again, for Monash University, the feminist indoctrination camp, that stated, what becomes clear through a feminist political economy lens is that Brexit is a politically constructed crisis. Sorry, construed crisis, my apologies. Manufactured not only by a generic male-dominated British political elite, but in this case, quite literally by men who happen to have gone to the same elite schools and have been competing with each other since adolescence. That their own private conflict could be transformed into a public issue of such magnitude, into a scandal, was only possible by keeping others, women and immigrants, outside of the discussion, disallowing their participation and transforming them into objects rather than subjects of the debate. Brexit is a product of a gendered, intra-elite conflict that has been simmering in Britain for decades. However, due to the ineptness of the male political elite during the Brexit campaign and referendum, women leaders are now at the heart of Europe's fate. By the end of 2016, another year marred by violence, political extremism, and racism, and desperate cries for help by millions of refugees, it is very likely that the world's greatest powers and its most important financial institutions will be run by women. Well, given how much consumer debt is currently owned by women, I'm not holding out a great amount of hope for these financial institutions, to be honest. And in fact, what I'm actually going to do for you guys, I'm actually going to pull up another little article which I was going to save for later, but I just can't hang on to this for any longer. I have to share this with you. Have to do it. Bear with me here. So I'm gonna share this with you at the end, but I just wanted to have this lined up so you guys actually get to have an eye on this, right? And just remember what they said about economic management back there, okay? Just hold on to that thought, because I know that you'll want me to go back to that soon. Now, look, the reality is that this is all just Marxism. It's class warfare against the perceived privilege, when we're not actually all privileged. Some of us are privileged. There's some black women that are privileged as hell. There's some Latino women that have stupid amounts of money and privilege, more than me. But hey, they don't count because they don't have a vagina. And what they've done to Sweden with feminist leaders is out of control. I mean, they've just lost the plot. And they're not even trying to hide it either, by the way. Sweden feminist government. Where are we here? This is great. So this is on the government.se. Government.se. Oh, hang on. Why do I go down these rabbit holes while I'm live on stream? I've got a juicy one for you. So let me share this with you guys. This is what... Here we go. Here's the Swedish feminist government. Government officers of Sweden, right? Sweden has the first feminist government in the world. This means that gender equality is central to the government's priorities in decision-making and resource allocation. A feminist government ensures that a gender equality perspective is brought into policy-making on a broad front, both nationally and internationally. Women and men must have the same power to shape society in their own lives. This is a human right and a matter of democracy and justice. Now, they say that feminist policy is awesome. Feminist foreign policy. Gee, where did we hear that? We heard that just a moment ago. This is the path we're going down if we don't wake up to this stuff and vote out the people who are trying to push it through. the Marxists in the universities, because that is exactly what is happening. Oh, look at this cock. Anyway, what I was actually going to bring up here is the feminist government of Sweden are in trouble with the United Nations. Here we go. UN Watch. Walk of shame. Sweden's first feminist government dons hijabs in Iran. The UN Watch, a non-governmental human rights NGO in Geneva, expressed disappointment that Sweden's self-declared first feminist government in the world sacrificed its principles and betrayed the rights of Iranian women, as Trade Minister Linda Ann and other female members walked before Iranian President Rouhani on Saturday wearing hijabs. So they talk a big freaking game. They talk a really big game when they're sitting there in their government offices in Sweden. They talk a big game. But when they walk into the patriarchy over in Iran, they play ball. Right? Because not doing so lands them in a bit of hot water. And of course, as you know, Sweden's had a huge amount of migrant influx, shall we say. Now, some people have called Sweden the grape, you know, that little fruit, the grape capital of the world. Now, I'm not going to use that particular name. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this from the mainstream media. Most convicted attackers of Swedish grape are foreign born. Well, imagine that. What an unbelievable surprise. Who would have thought that 58% of men convicted in Sweden of grape and attempted grape over the past 5 years were born abroad? Shocking, as Joker, the better bachelor, would say. By the way, I know Joker watches my stuff. Shout out to you, man. Oh dear, so good, this stuff. It's quite incredible. So let me get back onto the track, because I was kind of going off on a bit of a tangent there, and I don't want to go too far off track. Otherwise, this is going to be an hour-long video like the one yesterday. By the way, if you want to know why men are not getting support from anyone in Australia, just go to my video yesterday. It explains everything you need to know. And just leave it running in the background if you've got a bit of time. It's quite educational, I assure you. Anyway, so I'm just going to go back to this article from Bernard. He says, I particularly liked how this paper hinted that the Islamic State was merely the inevitable reaction of criminalized refugees to the militarized British economy. Importantly, given the priority that gender and security studies placed on diversity of thought, Jackie True's colleague, they didn't spell, okay, it's missing a U, that's okay. Katrina Lee Koo is a perfect partner for this course. While both of these women identify as women and also claim to be feminists, they could not be more diverse. Just look at Lee Koo's last name. It oozes diversity. Naturally, however, Lee Koo does have all the other requisite qualities that are important for shaping young military minds. Her Twitter feed makes it quite clear that she doesn't like Cardinal Pell, but she does support abortion and homosexual marriage. And her recent articles focus on the state of toxic masculinity in the Liberal Party. As such, I'm really not sure why the Navy hasn't sent its sailors off to learn from her words of wisdom sooner. Lee Koo has noted that the only reason Julie Bishop wasn't elected leader of the Liberal Party after the demise of Malcolm Turnbull is because, and I quote, this is from the article here, the combination of revenge-seeking, egocentric, and opportunistic policies on display demonstrates that an aggressive masculinist politics continues to destabilize the leadership of the Liberal Party. And in the fury of this politics, the party rumors simply overlooked Bishop as a legitimate and a credible leader. No, she just wasn't actually up to the job and or didn't toe the party line in the way that they wanted her to. Ultimately, Julie Bishop is the collateral damage of the Liberal Party's macho politics, apparently. Now, Bernard also says she's also gone on to argue that the language that emanates from the Liberal Party as well pretty much straight from the patriarchy's handbook of human rights crimes. Third, we must be more attuned to the gendered use of language in policy debates. Revived electoral campaigns to be tough on borders and stop the boats, or criticizing the lack of grunts of electric cars arguably rely upon gendered and nationalist constructions of masculine strength and protection in favor of feminine weakness. Give me a break. Fourth, we must address the gendered structures that govern access to political leadership. Morrison's election catch cry that those who will have a go will get a go covers over the deep structural discrimination that exists in this country around more things than just gendered. Anyway, look, there's a bunch more crap there. But there was actually something. Where was it? It was one of the links that I had posted here. I'm just going to quickly find that for you guys. There was actually a link to UN Women. Of course, there was an ABC article linked there, why men are far more likely to die. Of course, what a surprise. Shock horror. Ay. Where is this link to the United Nations? Oh, that's right. That's right. So this there's a gender security toolkit also that they've provided in brochure form. And by the way, guys, I have provided a link to Bernard's website and this particular article at the bottom of this video. So feel free to go and check that out and go and check out this toolkit for yourself if you want to look more in detail. Now, this toolkit specifically is titled Defense and Gender. It's just down here, Tool 3, Defense and Gender. And I've got that up here. Now, I had a look at that and I went down. I went, oh, hang on. UN Women. I wonder what United Nations Women's particular agenda is. Oh, it's a feminist agenda. How silly of me. Totally forgot about that just for a moment. So we've got the feminist agenda. We've got Gloria Steinem, feminist activist and writer. A feminist is anyone who recognizes the equality and full humanity of women and men. We've also got this, Women in Charge. Take a stand with everyone who won't accept the patriarchal status quo. Let's take action to change what we cannot accept. So they're just saying, well, we can't accept that we don't have women in charge of everything. So we're going to fight to change what we can't accept and we can't tolerate, right? Just because feelings or something like that. What else have we got? Feminist voices. Standing on the right side of history. Oh my God, you can tell all of these are feminists, especially this one. Especially this one. She just got that look on her face like, I am going to fuck up some patriarchy today. Like this is so weird for me because I'm looking that way and it looks like I'm actually looking off the top left-hand corner of the screen, but my screen's actually over this side. And so what you're seeing on the screen right there, I'm seeing over there. So just don't get too weirded out by that, all right? And here we go. If you didn't know their names, you will now. More about each of these activists at the link in our bio. And of course, it's got all links of all the details there. What else is the UN Women saying? Oh, what is that? Diverse gender identities and sexual orientations are not new in any way. Actually, sorry, YouTube. I didn't mean what is that. I meant what is they. So you can't dick me on that. I'm playing by the rules. Are not new in any way. We have rich histories in all cultures around the world. Framing us as new gives power to others to suggest it could be different, that there was a time when we didn't exist. Pip Gardner from the UK. And female genital mutilation, but not male genital mutilation because we like the look of uncircumcised penises better. Sorry, of circumcised penises better. It's the International Day to End FGM. We don't have a day for that, but whatevs. This is a practice that affects many women and girls that causes physical and psychological pain. Yeah, as it does to men too, but you don't give a shit. But, you know, whatever. Oh, Greta Thunberg. Schoolstreik for climate. I think that's how you pronounce it. She's still retarded. And not because she's autistic, guys. Not because of that. Just because who in their right mind would allow themselves to be a puppet for the United Nations? Just sit there and read from a script. Because if you haven't seen Greta not reading from a script, I suggest you go and look that up on YouTube. Greta no script, something like that. You'll see how much she struggles without a script. Here we go. Boys will be, held accountable. That's right, because only men are not held accountable at the moment, because we live in a patriarchy where even though yesterday's video that I did clearly shows that we live in a fucking matriarchy where vagina gets all the help and penis gets none, we still live in a patriarchy because the feelings of feminists and they want to control everything. So how do you, if you say that boys aren't being held accountable, then the government's going to be like, oh, you've got a vagina. I'd better appease you so I can get your vote. So I'm going to hold them accountable. That's what happens. That's why they have shit like this. RIP patriarchy. Oh, I'm so scared on Halloween. Spooky fact for Halloween. Patriarchy is still alive and well. Time to bury it. Shut the fuck up. Dumbasses. The to-do list for dismantling the patriarchy. Speak up for gender equality. Know your rights. Know what you're entitled to. Know those legally enshrined, inalienable rights that you have that men don't, that men are forced to provide for you. Support one another. Defy stereotypes. Stop the body shame. So what that means is if someone tells you, hey, you know what? You'd look better if you lost like 40 kilos because right now you are in the morbidly obese category and you can't get out of bed. That's body shaming. The United Nations said we're not allowed to body shame. You saw it right here. Fight toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity. Fuck out of here. Don't stand for intolerance. Educate the next generation. You mean indoctrinate the next generation. And let's here we go. We've got the big one here. Gender equality. Have you ever wondered what it's like to walk through the halls of the United Nations during the UNGA? Look through these photos to see all the action as world leaders gather in New York City to mark the annual occasion. Now, speaking of United Nations, I thought I'd share this with you. Let's take our planet back. Oh, look, would you look at that in the top left-hand corner? United Nations New World Order. Let's just let that sink in for a moment. All those guys 10, 20 years ago talking about New World Order before we were red-pilled. Some of you guys knew about it back then, but some of us didn't, including me. You know, back when we were blue-pilled, we were like, oh, New World Order. That's just a conspiracy theory. Guys, it's right there. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a plain and simple reality. The United Nations New World Order Project is a global high-level initiative founded in 2008 to advance a new economic paradigm, a new political order, and more broadly, a new world order for mankind, which achieves the UN global goals for sustainable development by 2030 and the happiness, well-being, and freedom of all life on Earth by 2050. Now, so UN, if you actually do a search, right, for, I'm going to do this now, UN Sustainable Agenda 2030. In fact, if you just type in Agenda 2030, you don't even need any of the rest of that. Agenda 2030. Transforming our world, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable, I think it's development. Oh, there we go. A recipe for global socialism, but that's just commentary on it. This is the actual thing. I said this is what it's talking about. It's not like I'm not making this up randomly. I'm not just going, oh, you know, I feel like making up shit about the New World Order to say, like, it's there. Sustainable Development Goals, Knowledge Platform, Sustainable Development Goals. United Nations New World Order. So advancing a new economic paradigm of capitalism instead of capitalism for humanity means mobilizing 30 trillion towards achieving the 17 UN global goals, 169 targets by 2030. That's the Agenda 2030. Let's click here and see what those 17 UN global goals are. Now, see that little tile there? Doesn't that look awfully familiar, like the one we just saw on the ground? Awfully familiar. So that's gender equality. Let's see what gender equality means to the United Nations. Oh, and achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Fuck men, just vagina. Feminist. This is a feminist agenda, right? And I said it before, and I wasn't kidding. Even the UN Women, they had the feminist agenda thing up there. There's literally an agenda, an intention, and a predetermined list of set goals, right? Predetermined list of set goals that with a feminist particular framework in mind that doesn't give any special privileges to men, only people with vaginas. Gender bias is undermining our social fabric and devalues all of us. It is not just a human rights issue. It is a tremendous waste of the world's human potential. By denying women equal rights, not men, right? We don't need to give men equal rights in any areas that don't have it. We just need to focus on giving women equal rights that they already have in most countries that are developed anyway. To live life at its fullest, political, economic, and social equality for women will benefit all the world's citizens. Together, we can eradicate prejudice and work for equal rights and respect for all. So, yeah. Oh, there we go. International Women's Day, of course. Anyway, you get the picture. Now, this was what I was telling you about before. You know how I mentioned about economics and how feminists aren't particularly good at economics, particularly Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who just thinks that money will materialize out of thin air? Well, Hawaii is considering an explicitly feminist plan for COVID-era economic recovery. Economic recovery? That sounds good. How are we going to go about that, Hawaii? Oh, I know. Let's give everyone a universal basic income. And let's also give free, publicly provided childcare for essential workers on the taxpayer's dime. And let's give a $25 an hour minimum wage for single mothers. What? $25 an hour wage for single mothers. Are you kidding me right now? Let's look at what 25 USD to AUD comes up as. Here we go. 25 US dollars is $37.53. Bro, I get that. Like, are you kidding me? That's what I get paid. I get paid just over that for working Saturday nights. Saturday nights. And I get paid $38 an hour, just over. Right? And they want to pay single mothers $37.53 an hour. Get the fuck out of my face. Seriously. Hawaii, what are you doing? Check this out. Creation of public emergency funds available for high-risk groups like, undocumented women. You mean illegal migrants who are ineligible for the federal cash refund. Domestic workers who are experiencing financial hardship, by which you mean either experiencing financial hardship because they had kids they couldn't afford to have, or maybe they just wasted their money on shit they didn't need and they've got bills piling up, because those both come under financial hardship. And people classified as sex trafficking survivors who have recently exited the commercial sex industry. Now, look, if they've genuinely been sex trafficked, I have sympathy for them. And, I would like to see sex trafficking stop personally for me, right? It doesn't directly affect me, but, I'm an egalitarian kind of guy. I believe that men and women should have the same opportunities and the same rights to basic liberties and freedoms. And if you're being sex trafficked you're not getting the same right to those freedoms. Because, and by the way, also boys get sex trafficked as well. And look, I'm not going to go too much into this. If you did want to look more into this, Hawaii's proposition, just do a quick Google search for Hawaii considers explicitly feminist plan for economic recovery. It should come up. So I'm going to close off on a few things here. Yeah, wow, we really went off on a tangent there. So guys, I'm basically done here. What did you think of this? I would love to get your thoughts on everything that I just covered in the video, because I know there's going to be some of you that are unbelievably angry at what I've just said. Let's see if we've got any super chats and any comments that I think you guys really need to see. Atena says the UN WHO site is fake. It's registered through GoDaddy to Alien Global PVC. Don't get duped, Sydney. This is just a troll site. Okay, look. So if it's a fake site, I'll wear that, right? If that is in fact a fake site, if that site that said the New World Order, but if you then click from that site, it takes you to the exact same site that you can get to by searching UN Sustainable Agenda. So it essentially takes you to the exact same site in the end. So it's troll site or not for that particular thing, it's basically still accurate. What else have we got here? Gender bias is destroying our social fabric is called gynocracy. That is, my friend, 100% correct. Feminism is a military psychological weapon to weaken the male population for more state control. Ain't that the freaking truth? Ain't that the truth? No, I haven't seen this myself, but Jenky Show says Joe Biden hesitates when he talks about NWO. Well, if he has spoken about it, I'm not surprised. And yes, it is the Sustainable Development Agenda 2030. That is the UN agenda. And, because it focuses so heavily on gender equalities, it is inherently, at least partially, a feminist agenda, as UN Women had up there. I could not agree with you more, Ezra Pound. Sickening is the best description. It just absolutely is the best way to describe it. There's no other way, really, in my view. That's my thought. Anyway, guys, I would love to know what you all thought of this stream and what you saw in it. I'm really tired, so I'm going to go to bed. But before I do, if you're in Australia and you're looking for a better deal on your mobile right now, you can help to support this channel by heading over to sydneymctail.com/prepaid. It's in the description. $40 a month for life for 200 gigabyte of data and unlimited calls and text and unlimited calls to like 19 of the most commonly called countries. So that's on Optus 4G. And also, thank you, Mario, for that. He says, I like it. And also, you can download Brave Browser if you're not already using it. It's a really good browser. It works just like Chrome, but with much better privacy. You can also donate via PayPal if you want to donate to the equipment fund to help me out with the rest of the gear that I'm buying. I'm sitting here. I've got like guys, I'm not even kidding right now. I've got, it's charging at the moment, but I've got camera, I got mics, I've got freaking lights up here. See, it's like creating a shadow. I got new lights. I got a new computer monitor. I got all of this stuff so I can make better content for you guys. So if you want to help out with the remaining equipment, because I'm still about $1,500 away from getting the mic and the podcasting deck, so I can actually do call-in shows as well and have it all really good audio quality. That would be much appreciated. But if not, that's totally cool. Please like, share, subscribe, leave your comments. Very important to click that like button whenever you come into the stream, guys. And the reason why I say that is because the more you click the like button, the more YouTube lifts the algorithm and brings my videos to the front, because it's so important that guys actually know about this kind of stuff, because otherwise sometimes you just don't know about it. Successful endeavors, sound is booming. I'm very sorry about that, man. If the sound is, yes, green screen indeed. Green screen. Well said, Mike. See, it's not a real mansion. Behind the green screen, it just looks like that, my TV. How cool are green screens, right? Anyway, guys, look, I'm out of here for now. Please like this stream. If you want to support the channel, you know what to do. Yeah, that 200 gigabyte deal with the $40 for unlimited calls and texts, that finishes in like 2 days. So don't miss out on that. Guys, I'm out of here. I appreciate you all. But until next time, peace.